And welcome back to the Utah International Film Festival. We are sitting down talking to Daniel Newman about his film. Tell me what it's called.
Chosen.
Chosen. Tell me a little bit about your, I want to say The Chosen, but that will confuse people because there is a series called The Chosen.
Oh, is that okay?
So it's just Chosen.
Just Chosen.
Tell me about it.
Well, Chosen is a 14th century Cambodian historical drama. It's about a girl that's selected to become a concubine for the king of the Khmer Empire. And we follow her on her journey from the countryside, from rural Cambodia to the capital. You've probably heard of Angkor Wat. Millions of people go there every year to see that famous historical site.
Mm-hmm.
And so she joins the royal harem, and I don't want to say too much.
That's okay. Well, you say whatever you can say, whatever you're comfortable
I don't want to give away the ending.
Of course not.
But the king under whom she's serving is rather tyrannical.
Okay.
So
that's enough.
Yeah, and to learn more, you have to see the film.
Exactly. There you go.
Because I keep on giving away the ending. So I've got to learn to try and control myself. And
you got to leave them wanting more.
Yes, exactly.
That's the whole key. So tell me, were you involved in this project from the very beginning?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I co-wrote it, co-directed, co-produced, so the whole
so
shebang.
This is your project.
This was my baby.
Your baby.
I knew I wanted to make a film in Cambodia, and I was very keen to do sort of a historical drama set during the Khmer Empire when they built Angkor Wat. So I knew that Angkor Wat was, if you like, going to be one of the stars of the film, because I can't afford Brad Pitt, but I can afford to, I can choose my location, and that doesn't necessarily cost me very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started building a story around that. So I decided, I came up with the idea of having a girl, and we follow her on her journey to the palace. So then I started researching that, and I found out that now I am going to give away.
Don't give away the ending. I'm going to stop you.
Well, okay. So this is because it's a short proof of concept, right? So it's an 18-minute film,
right?
And you don't actually see this in the short film, but in the feature-length version, then the concubine, having had these horrendous experiences in the palace, then poisons the king. So what we do know is that the penultimate king of the Khmer Empire was poisoned by one of his concubines. And so, if you like, I was building the backstory that leads. We don't know much about that concubine, so I was trying to imagine what she must have been through in order to want to poison.
Right, to get to that point. Yeah. So you based your entire story on a location.
Yeah, on a location, and then a little. Yes, a little bit of historical information, and then sort of fleshing out the backstory. As it were.
Interesting. Yeah. Is this you? Well, you just said there is going to be a feature length version.
Well, I hope so. That's the dream.
Okay.
So this is an 18-minute film, and I made it for about £4,000, about $5,000.
Wow.
Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more to make a feature. So if anyone's
unfortunately, you can pitch it right.
Yeah. But I'm going to be directing my first feature in Cambodia this year.
Oh, wow.
But it won't be that film just yet. It's going to be a horror film, because in Southeast Asia they love horror. Really? So it's much easier to get funding to do a horror film.
Okay.
Whereas this film is about a king that gets poisoned, and they still have a royal family in Cambodia. And so I get the impression that people are a little bit hesitant to sort of give the feature-length version their backing, because even though it was over 500 years ago, they don't like the idea of having a tyrannical king depicted. I'm saying far too much. I'm spilling all.
That makes sense, though. Tell me what the interest in filming in Cambodia? Do you live there?
No, I lived in China for 13 years, and I would very much like to make films in China, and I have produced some content in China, but the rules and regulations in China are so strict as to what you can and can't produce, and it's so orientated towards national propaganda that I decided instead to make films in Southeast Asia. So I've also done a sci-fi film in Vietnam, and yeah, I chose Cambodia, and interestingly, in China, when there's lots of things you're not allowed to say in China for censorship reasons,
right?
And often people will talk about Cambodia as an indirect way of talking about China. They'll tell you a story about something that happened in Cambodia, but what they're actually referring to is China.
Interesting.
So it was a good way of, because China, of course, had an imperial system with emperors and lots of concubines. The film could easily be set in China, but I wanted to make sure that people were actually allowed to watch it.
Right.
And this is so in fact, the world premiere of the film was in China, in Beijing.
Interesting.
And it was fine because it's not about China, Cambodia. It's about Cambodia, but it's still something. Chinese and Cambodian culture have a lot in common. So I'm sure that the Chinese audience sort of were fully aware of the fact that this could equally apply to their own country, even though I'm not allowed to explicitly say that.
That's very clever.
Yeah.
And very creative.
Oh, thank you.
Where do you live now?
I'm sort of all over the place, anywhere I could make a film. But I'm originally from London, and I spend time in Asia, and occasionally I pop over here. I did also make a film in LA a few years ago. I turned out to be a lot more expensive than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yes, I sort of, I'm a
just go where you want to go and make film. That sounds like a pretty good life.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't make much money out of it.
But are you being fulfilled creatively?
Yes. I mean, you can't help but compare yourself to your peers who are all making a lot more money.
Sure.
And sort of, because I was in China for 13 years and sort of living in Never Land and didn't really grow up. And, so I never got married or had kids. So I came back to the UK 13 years later and I thought, oh, that was what I was supposed to be doing. And so it's, but maybe it's too late for me. But now I can do cool things like make films that I guess a lot of people don't necessarily have time for. So
sure. So you don't have.
Yeah.
You have a little more freedom, maybe.
Yeah. So I do enjoy it, but you have to sort of. I'm still not very good at it, but I need to learn to stop comparing myself to other people. But it's sort of inevitable that you're like, oh well, my friends earning all this money, maybe that's what I should be doing.
Absolutely, that's the hard thing for everybody.
Yeah.
I think for sure. When you were in the middle of filming in Cambodia, did you run into any major speed bumps, any major obstacles during the shoot?
Well, I don't speak Khmer, which is the Cambodian language. And so I was very lucky that Soria, who's the lead actress in the film, but was also my co-director, was able to help me interpret throughout the production.
That's wonderful.
So, of course, we had several actors that could speak English and I could talk to them directly, but a lot of the actors with smaller parts who only had a few lines,
right?
There was really very little I could do to communicate effectively with them. So I was very reliant on her. And I mean, I'd never been to Cambodia before. So I arrived in Cambodia. I tried to just find cast and crew on Facebook and it wasn't really working out. And then some guy in a bookshop gave me Soria's number and then she liked the screenplay that I'd written. And then she just introduced all of her famous acting friends. So I mean,
wow,
I can't afford to, hire a known cast here in America or in the UK. But in Cambodia, I had, some of the actors are actually quite famous, quite well known. And so it was cool. As soon as she decided to work with me on the project, then she brought in all of her famous friends and sort of, a lot of them are sort of, on TV regularly. They're sort of recognized in the street, which is something I otherwise could never
for sure
dream of really at this stage of my career.
What a cool thing. I mean, my goodness, it seems like it was just kind of a gift that was handed to you.
Super, because I was on the verge of giving up, I just can't find anyone. This is just, ridiculous. And it was only because of her. And so, and I was the cinematographer was also a foreigner, but apart from he and I, everyone else behind and in front of the camera was Cambodian.
Did you know the DP before? Had you worked with?
No, I met him in a bar a couple of nights before we started filming. Because I was gonna do the cinematography myself, and I'd bought an iPhone 14 Pro, and I thought, well, I'll do it all myself. Like, sort of, I'd been on this sort of iPhone filmmaking course type thing. So I thought I'd do it myself, but then I chickened out at the last minute, and I met this guy that said he was a cinematographer. So I was like, okay, you do it.
And did he have his own equipment?
Oh yeah, he had his own gear. So
wow.
But yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, it's very stressful because this is a low budget film. We shot the whole thing in 2 days actually.
Wow.
And it's a 18-minute film, so that's quite a lot to shoot in a single day. I mean, but when I say 2 days, we're talking long days. So yes, the kind of thing that you wouldn't approve of.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Wow. So much serendipity, it seems like, happened to make this film possible.
Yeah, it was very lucky, and I mean, and it seems to have come together very well in it, because I've done half a dozen other short films prior to this one, but this one seems to be arguably the most sort of successful of the short films I've made. It's it's got into a lot of festivals. It's won a few small awards, and so I guess maybe somehow it was just
there's some magic that happened there with whatever it was. Well, congratulations on that. It seems like it's a really cool project. Now you mentioned what was next for you. Anything else further down the line?
Well, I've got 4 projects on the go at the moment,
so
I'm sort of simultaneously co-writing the horror film for Cambodia. I'm writing a 4-part mini-series about Shaolin Temple. So that is a sort of China-India project. I'm doing a solo writing project, a sci-fi, confined space sci-fi film. Okay. And then there's a 4th one that I haven't quite decided on. I've got a short list and my co-writer and but you need multiple projects because things get held up, you're waiting for a contract here, or you're waiting for someone else to do their draft. So you kind of need 3 or 4 projects so that you don't get stuck.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've done shorts primarily?
Yeah,
you haven't done
not done
yet, so
I did first. 2 feature-length documentaries about Shaolin Kung Fu when I was in my early 20s. Okay. And then I went to China and did all sorts of other things. I had a walking tour company where, we did ghost tours and gangster tours and tours of the Forbidden City and the Terracotta Warriors. And I had a soccer coaching company because China wanted to win the World Cup and they were opening 20,000 soccer academies. And, and I had an ethnographic consulting company. But then they all went bankrupt because of COVID. So COVID happened and foreigners weren't allowed into China anymore. So all 3 businesses got flushed down the toilet. And then I decided I needed a more stable, lucrative career. So I decided to become a filmmaker.
It's brilliant. That's great. I hope it works out for you. Actually, I kind of feel like it will. It seems like you've kind of had
It's gonna have to.
You don't have any other backup ones.
No, I figured that would be a mistake to have a plan B or a safety net. It's sort of everything or nothing.
Forcing you.
Yes, exactly. So you have to succeed or die in a ditch, isn't it? Yeah.
So dying in a ditch is not an option.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to do that.
Well, we'll see.
To be continued, I guess. Wow. Okay. What a story. That's very fascinating to me. Have you ever, well, I guess you're going everywhere. Is there a country that is kind of on your wish list of places to shoot that you haven't been?
Yeah, I mean, loads of countries. So most of the stuff I've done has been in sort of America, the UK, and Asia. Uh-huh. So I'd really like to do something in South America and Africa. I like trying to do a different project each time. Apparently that's a terrible idea. Apparently the usual advice is you should specialize, so you should just do horror, or you should just do martial arts films, so that then people will say, oh yeah, that's the guy, let's hire him because he's the guy that does all of the horror films in Asia. But I like to try and do something different each time, because I've only been doing this for 6 years. And so I want to figure out what I like before I become pigeonholed into doing the same thing over and over again.
Right. Still explore. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you are a nomad, so you could just call your production company Nomad Productions.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then it doesn't matter. You don't have to specialize. You're a nomad. You can do whatever you want. You can sample.
Yeah. Can I have that? Can I? How much do I owe you for Nomad Productions?
You can have it.
Oh, thank you.
It's your IP now.
Thank you. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gift it to you. Yeah. Unless it is really successful. Just kidding. Totally kidding. Wow. Okay. What else? Were there any big lessons for you? And because I know you said you've just been at this for 6 years. So in this latest production that you did, were there some big lessons that are going to help you in the next productions that are coming?
The Vietnamese one or the Cambodian one?
Whichever.
Well, I mean,
are you learning lessons as you go that's like, oh, that was a big thing that I shouldn't do next time?
Oh, just so many. And I seem to make the same mistakes over. I mean, I know, but I was just attending a workshop, a master class
panel.
With a panel.
Yeah.
Thank you. With Warren. And more, I think the panel ended with Warren saying, plan better. If you plan better, do more fundraising, sort of. Yeah, so it's. I think it's all just about preparation, and I do tend to set myself these, in the case of the Cambodian film, I can't remember. I think my visa entitled me to stay there for sort of 30 days, 45 days, and that, so that's from sort of within that period of time, I arrived, wrote the script, found the cast and crew, shot the thing, and then got out of there. Like, I think I literally left on the day that the visa was going to expire.
Wow.
And I mean, so I'm putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself. So I think, when I made the Vietnamese film, I was crying in the bathtub by the end of the second night of filming because it was so intense, So I just put, because I don't have that much money.
Yeah.
And this stage, I just sort of, because I feel I'm starting a bit late because I'm 44, and you sort of all of these filmmakers, they're 20 years old and they've won an Oscar already or whatever. And so you kind of,
did you just hate them?
Yeah. But I mean, so I kind of, I feel like I'm trying to catch up, and therefore I sort of set myself these unrealistic goals, but it's not just me that suffers as a result. And so, as Warren quite wisely said, plan better.
Plan better. That's a good lesson to learn. Do you feel like it seems like you're fairly solo in your pursuits, and then you just kind of find people as you go. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, in the case of Cambodia and Vietnam, it had to be that way. But back in the UK, where I've also made a few short films, I do have some people that I collaborate with on a regular basis. And yeah, I mean, I think it is obviously very important to build up a crew. And I think when I do the feature, then I'm going to try, I hope, as Warren says, get that money, get that funding, so that then I can, at least in the case of the cinematographer and perhaps the production sound recordist, bring them over just to make sure I've worked with these people before. I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then sure, the rest of the crew should all be local and the cast as well.
Right.
But just so that you don't need to sort of be constantly thinking maybe none of this has actually been recorded.
Did that occur to you on your Cambodia shoot at any point?
Well, it's things, just now I was watching a panel on post-production, and yeah, they were, sorry, I've had a mind back.
Oh, that's okay. Happens to me constantly. Oh, yeah?
The wrap-up signal.
Wow, it's really overheating. Okay, give me a fun fact about you.
I've been doing Kung Fu since I was a teenager. That's why I went to China when I was a teenager. So I went to Shaolin, tried to become a Shaolin monk.
Excellent.
And I still...
You have stories. You have stories. You have stories to tell. You've got so much to share.
No stability, but lots of stories.
Hey, you'll do it. I know you're. I think I'm gonna see you again in some aspect in this world. I felt. Yeah.
I'd love that.
Well, thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate it, and good
Thank
luck
you.
with everything. We will be back with more filmmakers at the Utah International Film Festival.